Hello.
Good morning, Emma. I guess it's good evening over there, though, in Belgium.
5 p.m. here.
So how's our boy? Is he there pestering you already?
Oh yeah, he's been pacing back and forth. We were trying the trance channeling before you came up. I was meditating and he was trying to get in. So it was okay. I felt him go in and I felt him moving my feet and my hands, but I just can't let go of the back of the mouth.
Oh, that's hard.
Take over the voice yet, so but we're working on it, and he's been very patient with me. If I was him, I'd already be like, oh my god, she's a hard one to crack. But
that's good. I guess it just takes practice. Kim can't do it. She tries, but she can't totally let go because he says that she's afraid that she will, pee in her pants or something like that. So that's funny. But
I think for me, it's probably just a control issue. It's like I want to stay around to see what he's going to say. And I think maybe that's the problem. Like, I can't just say, okay, see you later. And I just want to stick around. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm still working on it.
Yeah, you can record it. That way you can feel like, well, I'm going to miss this live, but I'm going to watch the recording. So we're cool.
Yeah, I tried that. It's just hard. It's really, really hard to completely surrender.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I can tell you right now, I know I couldn't do it.
I think the other problem is, like, I still identify myself with this body. This is me. And I think in order to be completely able to release your body, to kind of step aside and say, hey, this is your car for a minute, I think you have to be able to see that the body is not me, that I am this other entity inside of me. And I still have a hard time separating the two, I think. And I think maybe that's why we're still working on it. But we'll see. We'll hope. I'm really hoping, because I really want to be able to do it for people and say, hey, here's Erik, and have fun.
What do you think, Erik? Will she be able to do it? Do you have any hope for her? Slow learner? I'm kidding.
Because if I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be working with her so hard.
I know. Yeah, good.
Of course she can. He's like, she can do it. She just needs to get out of her stubborn head, and she's trying to control everything. I'm an Aries. It's just part of who I am.
Yeah.
I like to be in control. So
you got it coming up. I'm a Taurus on the cusp of Aries, so I've got both of those. So hey, Erik. What are we going to talk about today? I hear you want to talk about oxygen, breathing. That's kind of important. And, I will say this. That's one thing there are two things that I'm really bad about. Drinking drinking any fluids, except for my cup of wine at night. I always do that. And breathing. Sometimes I realize, oh, wow, I'm not breathing. It's that kind of thing. But, tell us what you need to. I don't have any questions, no list or anything, so I'm just going to leave. It'll be open mic night for you.
Open mic. He's going.
Yeah.
He's going, first of all, I love you, Mama.
I love you.
He's going. He's kind of hyper today, so he's just kind of bouncing back and forth. So if you see my head going back and forth, I'm sorry.
I hope you don't
just
get dizzy.
Follow his energy for some reason. I don't know why. Well, I have to say, first of all, this oxygen thing came up because we were having a reading with a man called Brian Johnson, really cool man. And he's a healer who uses oxygen. He uses one of those tanks, those oxygen tanks to heal people. And he really wants to talk to Erik to see how he could improve things and how he could make it better for people and things like that. And so after the reading, I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know oxygen could do so much. And Erik was like, hey, you should put this on. So that's why he wants to bring it forward. He wants to talk about not just oxygen, but breathing mostly.
Yeah. Oh, I was forgetting to breathe. Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So he's been rubbing his hands again. That's why I'm doing it. So he goes, okay. Most people think breathing, it's just a way to transport oxygen into the body, right? And to basically provide the body with the physical oxygen that's necessary for all the body functions, right? Because without oxygen, the body gets ill and the body dies, right? So we need oxygen to have our body survive this planet. But he says in another way, oxygen is also a way to absorb or transport subtle light energy, right? So the air, right, and therefore also the oxygen that we breathe in has its own aura, his own energy field, right? And he says, you might have heard of these names before, Mom. He says this metaphysical or universal energy that people talk about, right? This life force that is really hidden in our breath. You know, they also sometimes call it prana or chi energy.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
Right? So he says that's really what it is. So oxygen breathing is not just oxygen for our body, but also subtle light energy that keeps the cells going, that gives the energy for every little bitty cell in our body to keep going, to stay alive. So he says correct breathing nowadays is hard.
Yeah, now I'm totally aware of my breathing pattern. So
yeah. We live in a world with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fears. And what that causes is it causes people to breathe very shallow. And also we live in a world where the oxygen levels in the air has reduced dramatically.
Oh, really?
So even if we do breathe in very deeply, we're still not getting as much oxygen in as we did a couple of thousand years ago. So what can we do, right?
Yeah.
He said, first of all, let's see, why is breathing so necessary, right? Well, we all know that our state of mind affects the way that we breathe, right? So if we're upset, we're frustrated, our breath tends to go very, very shallow and very fast, right? Our heart's racing, we're breathing really fast, and we're not really getting the oxygen in that we need. Or if you look at it the other way, if we're happy, we're in a good place, we're feeling peaceful, then our breath really becomes slower and it really goes a lot deeper, right? So just as our state of mind affects the way that we breathe, so does the way we breathe affect our state of mind.
Okay.
So our breathing is something that we can fully control, right? We have complete control over our breath. So if we could slow it down and deepen it, then that can actually lead us to a more peaceful state of mind, to a more peaceful heart, and a more peaceful soul, right?
Okay.
So by breathing, right?
Yeah, how do we do that?
It's really about being aware of your breath. It's about, Mom, how we talked about being aware of the mind, of your thoughts, being mindful, being in the moment. The same thing can be done with breath. You really have to be aware of, I'm feeling, something happened, right? You immediately should start thinking. He says, there she goes. Okay, so, right, let's say you're in a conflict or you're having a bad day or something went wrong. The first thing you should do is, okay, hold on. Let's breathe in and out so we can calm down and we can be in a better state. We can reduce our heart rate, get more oxygen, and that way we'll be able to think clearer. Because if we don't get enough oxygen in, our brain blocks too, and then we get even more frustrated, right? So it's really about being aware, forcing yourself to every now and then stand still and say, how am I breathing? Am I doing okay? Am I breathing too shallow? Should I take a few deep breaths? It's about basically breaking the routine, breaking your automatic pilot every now and then. He says, okay, let's do this. Every time you go to the bathroom, take a few deep breaths in and out, pick some steady times in the day where you kind of say, okay, let's have a few moments, even if it's only 3 minutes, a few moments where we stop everything that we do and we just take a few good deep breaths, okay? That way we'll also bring our awareness to the here in the now. We'll bring our awareness.
That's true.
Right? We kind of break the cycle of being on autopilot, he says. And he's kind of walking around like a little, what's that called? One of those bunnies with the
Energizer bunny?
Yeah, he's like, oh. He's just going back and forth.
You're going to have to take a Dramamine if he keeps doing that.
He says that's how most people are. They have this battery stuck up their butt, and then they just keep going all day long.
But I was hoping you were going to say that we have to sit there and be constantly aware of in every waking moment of our breathing, because I couldn't possibly do that. That's just way too much work. As it is, I have this Apple Watch, and they have this Breathe app that reminds you when to breathe. It's like, okay,
oh, really?
I took it off because I said, don't be so arrogant and tell me when to breathe. I'll decide when I want to breathe.
He says, no, you don't have to be constantly aware of it. He says, just pick a few times in the day where you kind of bring your awareness to it.
Okay.
Or if you're really upset, sit down for a few minutes and really breathe. Okay. Pick some days, some times in your day, make it into a routine. And what's going to happen is you're going to retrain your brain to breathe correctly with time. You're going to retrain the brain to automatically think about your breathing without you thinking it.
Like I could say, okay, every time I do the dishes, or tell somebody to do the dishes, every time I go to the bathroom, every time I brush my teeth, those are things that I can like automatically remember to do that. Kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
That's a terrible saying, by the way. Kill two birds with one stone. That's terrible. Anyway.
So yeah, really, just pick some moments, he says, that's comfortable for you. Even if it's just when you go into bed, you're laying there anyway. Might as well do some breathing exercises. Might as well focus on it. Or if you're sitting on the couch watching TV, just take some good deep breaths in and blow everything out. It's going to de-stress you. It's going to make you feel more relaxed. It's going to heal your body. And it's going to provide more oxygen to the organs. Therefore, your body will feel better and your mind will also feel better. Right?
Okay. No, Bella. It's Michelle. Oh, my God. Anyway.
So pick a few times and then, that'll break your routine and really bring you to the here and the now at the same time as providing your body with extra oxygen that it needs.
I really like that it does bring
you
to the now.
Several things at the same time, so that should be really up your alley, Mom.
Okay. Hey, so what about
actual? It off the lists then.
I know my list. Okay, got my list. Hey, my list. I have one on my iPhone, which I put on an index card, and I scratch them out. Cook ribs. Take a bath. Oh, breathe. No. Breathe is not there, but I put everything on here. It's like chores. Anyway. Oh yeah, what about like oxygen bars or just like things like that? Getting a bottle and a mask to give yourself some oxygen.
He says, well, let's go into that a little bit later, he says. We'll go through some different options that you have. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, so they're really, they know this is necessary and they know that this is beneficial to people. So they're really bringing out a lot of new stuff on the market. So let me just say, he says, okay, so breathing calms your mind, okay, keeps you peaceful. So it basically creates like spiritual health and development, okay, on that end. Now, another benefit is if we breathe correctly, we better absorb the oxygen and then remove the impurities from our blood, and it stimulates our organs in the body, right? Which eventually leads up to physical health and vitality, which means we'll have more energy, we'll feel better. So just breathing correctly, something that everybody can do, something that is completely free.
That's true.
Right? Can cause you better health, physically, better mental health, right? It can give you more energy, and it can help your spiritual development.
The government will probably figure out a way. Government will probably figure out a way to tax the air we breathe too. So.
We're already paying tax.
Bella, stop it! Oh. I got to
Okay, now he says, okay, I just want to talk a little bit more about the chi thing, the prana thing, the life force, right?
Okay.
He says this is a little hard to explain, but he's going to try his best to kind of make it understandable. What is the life force? What is that chi, that energy, that universal energy that keeps everything going, right? He says the ultimate source of energy is the mind, right? Mind is being compressed
put these on. Go ahead.
to become the essence of all energy, the fundamental energy, and this exists throughout the whole universe, right?
Okay.
So in the atmosphere of our Earth, that fundamental energy, that life force, sort of transforms into a form is easily absorbed by all living creatures, right? So for example, it can be absorbed through our food and water as well. So there is oxygen in food and water as well. But most of it, of course, is absorbed by our breathing mechanism, right? Without breathing, there's no life, right? So what happens in the body, he says, he's going very complicated now. What happens in the body when this life force has been absorbed is it starts to work together with the nerve system. He's showing me the spine, and he's showing me all
the nerves
kind of going out of that. Right, so that energy starts working together with the nerve system, which is similar to kind of electricity. It creates some kind of electricity, like sparks, right? But not really quite the same, but it's similar. Anyway, then the nerve system is responsible, he says, for almost everything, right? Our feelings, our emotions, our conscious, our unconscious thinking, our spiritual abilities. Everything in our body is controlled by nerve impulses, including our senses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He says a lot of things really depend on that nerve system. So it's the combination of that energy with the nerve system that creates life, that creates everything on this planet possible to exist. Right?
Okay.
So let me just recap. He says, okay, so a correct breathing and a deepened breathing really results in not only us getting calmer, getting more peaceful mind, but it also increases the intake of oxygen, which he says, I'll go into that a little bit deeper in a minute, like oxygen exactly. But most importantly, we can absorb more life force. And he says, by absorbing that life force, by getting into that better state, we also help the people around us who need it.
Oh.
We're able to transmit it to each other by interacting with one another, even on long distances. And that's how we have the possibility to heal.
Oh, that's like remote Reiki? That's how remote Reiki works?
Yes, that is that life force. That is that chi that we can basically send it to people around the world. And that's why prayer and things like that help, because that's really the thought creates the reality. The chi, the energy, the universal force creates that existence.
Let me ask you, is this chi, this prana, this energy is associated with the oxygen molecule only, or with air in general? With the nitrogen, the carbon dioxide, all of the air?
Yes, so everything.
It's not specifically just the oxygen.
No, no. With all the different elements, he says. All the different elements have, basically, he says, if you could see it visually, every element that exists has its own universe.
Oh, wow.
It's surrounded by this force. And oxygen is just one of them. But because we breathe in oxygen, it is the easiest way to absorb this life force.
Okay.
Easiest way to really refill your energy, to reboost it, to help you heal, to make you feel better. This is the breathing mechanism is really the most important one to absorb this energy that's out there. We can also absorb it from others, but we're get enough in to get a healthy body and a healthy mind and to feel good in what you are, where you are, and how you're connected to the universe and to everybody around you, the breathing mechanism is the easiest way to get it in. Because as I said, he says you can also get it through food, you can get it through drinking, you can get it from each other, it can be passed on. There's so many ways to achieve it. But again, breathing, that's why I thought this was important, Mom. He says, I really wanted to explain something so simple can do so many great things. We don't always stand still with our breath. It's become such an automatic thing that just by changing your focus just a little bit every now and then, it can make a world of difference in how people feel and how they absorb the world and how they connect with one another. So that's why I thought it was very important to explain it a little bit.
Okay. Awesome. What else can you tell me?
So serious right now. First he was like, don't. He was a little Easter bunny. Then now he's all serious.
What's going on? Why so serious, Erik?
Like, this serious, Mom. This is serious.
All right. Tell us some more.
I want people to really get this. So this is going to help us.
Good. It sounds pretty important so far.
Okay, so he says, here's a few qualities maybe that are kind of cool about the life force. He's going, number 1, the mind is possible to control it. So the life force can be controlled by thought, by our consciousness. So we can direct it to places in our body. Let's say we're having back pains, right? Just by thinking and visualizing that energy being sent to your back can already help you. We can, like I said, the healers can pass it on. So we could really, I don't want to say control, but we can guide this energy to specific needs, to specific parts in the body, to other people to help them, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And he says, of course, that is what creates the aura around the body.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Our aura, that is the universal force. That is what that is. Right? And it can also be stored in different areas, like special areas in the nervous system and in the brain. So there are parts of our bodies that this higher levels of this energy force is being stored and collected. So then it can be relied on when necessary, when it's really, let's say the body's in a very critical state, right? Then the body can actually access those areas and try and get that energy in order to get the body through a possible death experience, can get it through very long periods of time without food and things like that. So,
but the prana, how does it relate? I know it's not the soul, but how does this life force relate to the actual soul? How do they work together? Or?
In a way, it's the same. In a way, the life force is the mind. However, in order for our body, in order for the physical to be able to exist, the mind it changes its shape so it can be absorbed by everything, by cells, by anything that's physical. He says it's kind of hard to explain, but basically the mind changes. It's like it's transformed into a shape that can be absorbed by anything that's alive, by any cell. And from that, once it's absorbed within the cell, then basically the reproduction of cells is created, and that's how you can build up life. You can create life. You can create a baby. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it's in essence, it's the same. However, energy can change form, can change shape, it can change structure. So it is all the same. It is all mind. It is all consciousness. Only it changes shape in order to create human life, in order to create plants, in order to create animals, things like that.
Life force is pretty much is all related to life. It's not the energy that we shape into our reality with consciousness. Then is that something different? Like if you want to manifest a new job, or if you want to manifest something physical, that's not the prana that we're manipulating with our consciousness, right? That would only be for life.
It's the same thing, but it's the different shape.
Okay, got it.
That's the mind, the consciousness that we're talking about. And then the prana or chi is really the mind, the consciousness in a different shape.
Okay.
To create anything physical. Anything physical has it. Does that make sense? That's
not just living, not just living things.
To manifest things, then it's really the mind in its pure form. Then it's really
all right.
The way that God or main source or whatever you want to call it is. That is the mind.
Got it.
But in order to get it into, to get energy change into physical and make life in a physical body possible, it needs to shift. It needs to change form so it can be absorbed by the cells.
Okay.
It's kind of like this, he said. Okay, so let's say you have a cell, but there's no energy in it, then it won't do anything. It's just a cell, right? It needs energy. It needs that kind of electric spark to make the cell alive.
Okay.
And that's that chi, that's that prana. Okay. That's what's being absorbed. So without the prana, without the mind that's shifted into prana, there is no life in cells, and there is no anywhere.
Okay.
Does that make sense? He's going,
no, you're doing a good job, baby. Do you want to get on to oxygen therapy now, or do you need to talk a little bit more about this other interesting stuff?
No, he said, that's good. We could go to oxygen therapy.
Okay.
Okay, so he's saying that there's like different ways that they do oxygen therapy. Like you can, you have like compressed oxygen, which is in like canisters. He's showing me like a canister, I guess with a mask or something.
Oh, yeah, right.
Canisters. Does that make sense? So it's like compressed oxygen that you can get. You can buy that yourself. So he says you can get that.
Seems like I think you need a prescription for oxygen. Maybe only at certain levels, a certain percentage. Certain concentrations, maybe.
He says, either way, it's always good to go to a doctor and kind of go over what you would like to try. Because he's saying that, oxygen can heal a lot of things. He says you have to understand that a lot of bacteria, a lot of viruses, they can't survive in an oxygenated environment. Like cancer cells, he says. He says cancer cells thrive in a room, in a place where there's not a lot of oxygen present. So what a lot of people have done is they go into those
hyperbaric oxygen tanks.
I have a hard time saying that. Hyperbaric oxygen tanks. And what it does is it fills the blood with more oxygen. Therefore, cancer cells, you can prevent cancer cells from growing, or you can even stop them and kill them just with oxygen. However, you do need doctors to. Right. You need to convince your doctor that this is the way you want to go.
That's not the hard part.
That's the hard part. A lot of doctors are still open to it. So,
just like vitamin C, a high doses of IV vitamin C, doctors won't go for that, but it's been shown to cure so many things. Now, people with certain lung diseases like COPD and emphysema have to be very careful, because oxygen can actually shut their desire to breathe off, and they can go into respiratory arrest. So I think it really is important for people to check with their doctor before going to an oxygen bar, for example.
Yeah, so he's saying that it's always good to check with your doctor first before you do anything. And he's saying that a lot of, like the hyperbaric chambers and things like that, first of all, you'll have people working that, who know what they're doing. So make sure that whoever is doing it is qualified and that they have good credentials and things like that, right? But the things you can get in for yourself is like oxygenated water. And there's like, he says there's like products that, it's just water, but they just add like a lot more oxygen to it or something like that.
Okay.
He's talking about there's like this whole process to put the extra oxygen in there. But he said, it's too complicated, so I'm not going to go into it, he says.
Thank you.
But you can buy that. There is oxygenated water that you can buy.
Okay.
There's like they do ozone therapy.
Oh, really?
Which is also a way that they do. He's talking about cancer again. I don't know why he keeps bringing up cancer, but he's saying, yeah, it's again, most of the therapies that are out there, it's really about it's based on the fact that most bacteria, most viruses, again, can't live in that oxygenated environment. But it also speeds up the healing process, he says. Like
I've used hyperbaric oxygen on patients to heal wounds, to stop anaerobic bacterial infections and things like that, sure.
And like he's talking about like burn wounds, people who are burned over their whole body. It speeds up the healing process, things like that. Or they started using it at first for divers, I guess, who had
decompression sickness.
Yeah, so and they just kind of now in a lot of hospitals they're spreading it out. They're like it's being used for a lot more than just that. So they do see the benefits of it. He says they do see results with it. But again, also be aware that this might not be good for everybody. There are people with certain ability with certain diagnosis that it would be harmful. So definitely make sure that you really look into it, if it is good for you or not, he says, and make sure you see if you can there are doctors who are really good with this and who are really strong believers in this. So make sure you find yourself a good doctor who can assist you in this, because it can do a lot of good for yourself. It can also help. He's going, okay, so this might be a little weird, he says to a lot of people, but old age is also called a sickness in some people's minds. He says a lot of times nowadays doctors will say, oh, it's old age. You can't do anything about it. You got arthritis. It's old age. You got this. It's old age. You're just worn out. You're good. Right. Now he's saying with oxygen therapy, you can actually have the renewal of cells improved. Cell, how he says, how cells kind of, we're constantly renewing our body. Our cells are constantly making new cells and replacing the old ones, right? Well, oxygen can speed that process up. Oxygen can keep you healthy, and it can also keep your cells from, he says, not really aging, but it'll speed up the process of making new cells.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
How many times, how often and for how long is the ideal amount of time and frequency to do like hyperbaric oxygen?
Oh, that's kind of hard, he says, because it really depends on the person. It depends on what it's being used for. So that is something that definitely needs to be discussed then with the person that is going to help you with it. So you can't really put a time on there because it really depends on the situation. Are you just doing it to get clean skin, he says, which is also very good. It helps with wrinkles and things like that because it's, again, renewing the cells in your skin. So he says it really depends. Is it really for you want to get rid of cancer that way, or do you just want to feel good and feel re-energized? Do you just want to kind of give your body a boost? It really depends on why you're using it, he says. So
I can really see centers all over the place, like a whole chain of a company that's like a chain of all these hyperbaric oxygen centers that people go in and stay in there for 30 minutes and go once a month or something.
salon instead of a tanning salon.
I think it would be much better than a tanning salon. Wow. But so what's the difference between hyperbaric oxygen, compared to just like going to an oxygen bar?
He's talking about the intensity of oxygen, how much oxygen is in there, things like that. The oxygen level.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Talking about like the oxygenated water, it needs to, when it is made, there's only a short amount of time before the oxygen gets disappears.
Right.
Like you really
have to
drink it that amount of time, or
Mm.
so it really depends, on also where you get it, who's made it. There's a lot of differences in these companies, and there's a lot of differences in the methods. So.
But some will help.
It's all over the web, so look into it, and really see what might be beneficial to you. If you think it might be good for you, or you just want to give it a go and see if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel healthier. Like the water can't really hurt.
Yeah.
Those tanks and those hyperbaric rooms, you're going to need a doctor to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to need specialists to help you with that, and they should know whether or not you. It is good for you or it might be bad for you.
Okay.
Either way, he says, it's got a lot of medical benefits. It detoxes your blood because it gives more oxygen to the red blood cells. It helps against fungal infections because a fungus is something that loves areas that are moist, that do not have a lot of oxygen, very closed up areas. So they're very hard to get rid of, he says, even with medication.
Sometimes, yeah. And the medications can be really horrible. Like one that we use for systemic fungal infections is amphotericin B, and we call it amphoterrible. We call it amphoterrible B because it's so terrible. It's so hard on the body.
He says that some of those antifungal things can even cause like liver problems and things like that. So he's talking about this is a lot safer, and it'll kill the cells directly. It's also antibacterial. It's good for the cardiovascular health. He says there's a lot of benefits, more than I have time here to sum up. But he says check it out online. There are tons of websites discussing this where you can see all the different kinds, what might be best for this, what might be best for that. I just wanted to open your eyes today, he says, and really go into, hey guys, just breathe.
Very wise words. Oh, okay, I'll start breathing now. No, I think Michael Jackson, didn't he have a hyperbaric oxygen tank at his home that he got into? Well, I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But, well, that sounds great, Erik. Anything else you want to share?
A lot of celebrities have that.
They got the dough for it.
It keeps them young, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I have room or the money for one, but...
I don't think I do. I know I don't. So, all right. Anything else you want to share on oxygen or oxygen therapy, Erik? My love?
He says, you just have to see oxygen as the love of the universe. Oh. Breathe it in and you inhale the love. Breathe it out and you inhale all the stress. Just let it out. So he says, I love you guys. I love you, Mom, very, very much. And I'm gonna be watching you, he says. Every now and then I'll tap on your shoulder and go, Mom, breathe in and out very deeply.
You're as bad as my Apple Watch. Breathe out. All right. Thank you, Emma.
Every now and then.
Thank you, Emma, for this.
You don't have to do it constantly, but break the routine, break the cycle of automatic pilot, and just breathe.
If you guys want to find out more about Emma, stay tuned for the messages that follow.
All right.
Bye, Emma.
Love you guys. Erik's going, bye.
Love you.